Hello and welcome to Long Castle with a really good view of that castle. Anyway, what are we here for? We're here for the Season 3 Mod Award Show. It's that time! Yay! I'm jumping if you couldn't tell. Oh, there. I'm jumping! Yay! Alright, so let's get started. I brought the Jeep up here because, well, that's what I was driving. Let's get started with Placeable mods. Always an interesting category to deal with. Alright, so let's get over here into Placeable mods. Turn off the Jeep. Okay, it's kind of noisy over here for probably that. Whatever. Okay, so kind of on this side are the mods that we've brought over from Season 1 and 2. There's the anti-modding sheds, which we like because the anti-modding sheds let us on a small farm or a new farm, let us store our equipment and really choose the shed that fits what we need it to do. So it was really great for that. Then in Season 2, we added the straw power plant, which we found to be really great. One, because the round bale stacker just is too tall for most of your sell points, and you can sell it here without a problem. Also, it was a really convenient thing to do. Stick out by a far field and just run hay or straw and dump it right in there. Same price as selling it at your sell point, so that was good. We had the water tower, which we also found to be very good because when you needed to water your animals, or anything that needs water, this was a cheap way to have a water position. Now you still have to pay for the water, but it was cheap. It was mobile in that you could put it wherever you wanted on your farm. So it was really great for that, and it was an obvious fill point right there. So that was cool. Of course, we added the chicken coop, which we have all come to love. Look, I have eggs in my chicken coop for reasons. There, I got eggs. We've become to love the chicken coop because we don't have to play Easter eggs. And then there was the big Morton shed, and this we liked and gave an award to because it was a great addition to the anti-modding shed in that once you got big enough, there we go, you could get this big old shed and store everything in here. I mean, it was huge with plenty of space to store all kinds of goodies, including apparently a hay bale. So it was a great piece of equipment, a great placeable mod, but it's a big placeable mod. This season, excuse me, I'm selling that straw power plant because it's annoying me now. Go. No. I'm an idiot. Okay, there. Now I can hear myself think. Yeesh. All right, so we liked all of that. They all did something a little bit different. So it was like a big co-award winning category. Everybody won a little bit because everybody was good and everybody did something a little bit different and added something to the game, which is exactly what we're looking for. This season we've added four. There was this giant hall here, which added from the giant mod contest. There's the breeding facilities here. There's the mixing station, and there's another Morton shed, which has mysteriously gotten stuck in the ground, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to start with this shed. This shed I really wanted to like. Where's my... There it is. I really wanted to like this shed. I mean, it had plenty of storage space down here. And then there was a crane operation system up here so that you could load and unload things. And I thought that was absolutely awesome. There we go. And there's our crane, and I can press that, and now I have control of the crane. Well, I thought that was really awesome, but there were a few problems. One, the crane is just maddening to work with bales. It's... With a lot of practice, you can do it, but it's not an easy task. And really, honestly, when it comes down to it, there's easier ways to stack bales. This entry ramp is just ridiculous. Anything bigger than a small trailer is just going to struggle to make this turn. In the Spotlight, I actually tried it with a cat truck and track and trailer. It was just not going to happen. The truck and trailer couldn't make the turn, so it really lost a lot of points for that. So I really wanted to like it, but in the end, I'm going to give it a dishonorable mention. It had a lot going for it. It just not quite there. This Morton shed is much smaller than the big Morton shed, which is good. It's sort of an intermediary. We got some outdoor storage, we got some indoor storage. It's kind of an intermediary between the anti-modding group of sheds and then that big Morton shed there. That big Morton shed is an expensive piece of kit. This Morton shed is sort of an intermediary. It gets you the opening and closing doors and the other features of the Morton shed, which are not present on the anti-modding sheds, at a smaller price point, which is perfect. Sort of as your farm grows, you can go from the anti-modding sheds to the small Morton shed to the large Morton shed. So I like it. I really do. It's going to sort of join that Morton shed over there as sort of a kit piece, like sort of how the anti-modding sheds came as a pack, but they show as different objects in the game by menu. I'm going to treat the Morton sheds as sort of the same. That Morton shed and this Morton shed are sort of extensions of each other, and I like them both pretty well. The mixing station. Yeah, let's talk about the mixing station. I like the mixing station. It is absolutely awesome. I mean, check my price again. It's $32,500. And when you think about it, this is going to do the same thing as the in-game feeding equipment. And when you go and look at in-game feeding equipment, the cheapest is $40,000. And the most expensive is $140,000. So for less money, you can get a full-on mixing station that sits wherever you need to put it. You can load it up and let it roll. I really, 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 really like this. I like the concept. Yeah, I couldn't get it to work with the mod trailer I was using, but it does work. I did try it with some other trailers. It works. It's just not, that trailer just was not going to have any of it. That's fine. So I really like it. In fact, I'm going to give it, right off the bat, it gets an award. It joins, basically, with placeable mods, unless they're just not finished, like that shed over there, I like the placeable mods. I haven't had a real problem with any placeable mods, so I really like this mod. It adds a lot. It really helps you on the farm. So it's definitely a pick it up and use it mod. The breeding facility I also really like. Instead of spending money on increasing your herd, why not increase your herd through the natural way that animals have increased their herd since the beginning of time? A lot of animal love. So why not? You do need a milk trailer to get milk here to the cows. And you need to keep on top of them, all three of them. But why would I pay more for another sheep when I could just grow a baby sheep? Right? So again, these work. They work well. They do as advertised. And they can really help you in your farm, grow your farm in ways that the game otherwise doesn't allow you to grow your farm. So for that, these ones also get a award. So pretty much it is awards all around, with the exception of this, which gets a dishonorable mention because the entry ramp is just unbearable. The crane is just frustrating as heck. And those are really the two big reasons right there. Those two things are fixed, and then it's going to be awesome. I would love to see a mod with a crane that allows you to stack your hay bales and your straw bales in a way that makes sense. So it's a great concept. I would have loved for it to work. It just didn't work. So, there we go. That is the placeable mods. They're all good, with the exception of that one. Get them all. Yeah. All right, we'll be back with our next mod category. And we're back with a new mod category, which is overloaders. Some of you called them other things. That's fine. The game doesn't actually call them overloaders, but most sites that you go and find these things on call them overloaders. That's what I'm going to call them. There were 3 of them that we worked on. One was that Brent that jumps around like a jumping bean, the egg reliner, and then the mother bin. I think we're going to go ahead and give a dishonorable mention to the Brent overloader because it likes to hop around like a crazy Mexican jumping bean. If that is fixed, I don't see too much else wrong with it. It needs a little bit of TLC, so I'd love to see that and see it come back as another mod. So that leaves us with 2. We have the egg reliner, and then we have the mother bin. Now, I know what the mother bin is there for. The mother bin is there for to park at the end of the field, basically, to allow you to run to the mother bin from the balloon tired equipment so that you don't compact your field, and then your trucks come to the mother bin, load up to haul away. I understand that. 2 problems I have with this. First problem, I don't really need that. I mean, let's be honest. This game does not have the graphical fidelity of something like AgriSim. It also doesn't have the bugs, but it doesn't have the graphical fidelity of AgriSim. So I can drive all over my field with whatever I want, and it doesn't do any true damage other than possibly cultivating my crops. Second problem I have is the thing is just a freaking beast to turn. Because the front 3 wheels are articulated, but they're not truly trucked, meaning they don't actually rotate. They just turn in place, makes it nearly impossible to turn this stinking thing around. Now, in some maps, that's not a big deal, but when you have a map that has a lot of turns, if you have to make any sort of turn to get it in or out of your farm, you're going to struggle with it. It's going to become a frustration. Now, if you have a huge fields, if you have huge tracts of land, and you want to use the mother bin, by all means, it's great for that. It's frustrating as heck to turn, but once you get it on site, you just leave it and don't move it. It's difficult for me to envision this working at places like Hagenstadt, even Central Kansas. Well, I don't know. Central Kansas, I probably could make an argument to use this. Here in Long Castle, no. Certainly not in Red Hill. Certainly not. I couldn't imagine even trying to get it down some of the lanes in Red Hill. So if you need a giant 110-ton capacity mother bin, here's one. It works. It's just it has a lot of frustration in it. Now, the egg reliner, the moment I hooked it up, it worked. It was easy to turn because it doesn't have any extra wheels out front. It operates exactly as you would expect. It has a few extra little things. I love it when they put chocks in the tire when you detach it. I mean, the mother bin doesn't have that. So technically it could just roll away. This one, you chalk it whenever it's parked. I like that. It's just a nice, easy to operate piece of equipment. And it also, when you buy it or reset it, it resets in this closed position, which is perfect. It's exactly what I want. So, we already talked about the brand. I'm going to give the mother bin a mention. If you need a giant mother bin, great, here it is. I don't need a giant mother bin. I don't see a reason for a giant mother bin. So, a mention. I'm going to give the award in this category, a relatively uncontested award, but whatever, award to the egg reliner for overloaders because, well, why not? It's a nice overloader and it works. So there we go. All right, we will be back with our next award category. All right, we're here in our our stuff category. The stuff category really covers a lot of either things that had no competition. What are you doing over there, you silly, silly planter? Anyway, stuff that had no competition or stuff that just sort of didn't fit in a category anywhere. So first we'll talk about this planter, which is doing the jig over here. It's doing the jig because of reasons. This is the John Deere planter. It was supposed to be a really great planter. It has a fertilizer aspect to it, along with a planting aspect to it, and a cultivating aspect to it. So it sort of was one of those big one-shot things, had big reach, all of that. A few problems with it. First, the clip patterns are all really wonkified. I've had problems getting it to work, which is always really annoying, and finding where the fill points are for the various bits of this piece of equipment has also been a real frustration. You can do it when you go back to like your main base, but if you're running with trailers, I just struggle to get it to work every single time, and that's what I want. I want consistency. I also want the clip patterns to be appropriate, and the clip patterns aren't appropriate. You can walk through large chunks of this, and then at other times you can't walk through stuff that you should be able to walk through. Of course, I can walk under it right now, but that's just because it's having a fit. So I like the concept. I want a big planter because sometimes you have big fields that you want to plant quickly. So I want a big planter, but this just wasn't it. It did not meet that for me. I'm going to give it a mention. It will function for you to some degree. Just be aware it has its problems. So there you go. That's the John Deere planter I mentioned. Milk tanker. It's a milk tanker. It does what milk tankers do. It tanks milk. I didn't have any problems with it once I made the milk truck go away. Yeah, I don't know what more to say about it. You can haul it with a tractor. You can haul it with a truck. You can haul it with a, I don't know, Unimog. So it works. I like the cow on the side, kind of like the flying cow thing. I like the fact that the pipe is there, and it all looks like it works well. The downside is you can clip into chunks of it, and that is annoying as heck, at least on the front there. So, is it the greatest in the world? No. Does it function? Yes. And if you're doing the breeding farm, you really don't need more milk than what this thing can haul. You've got to keep your milk stocked, but, if you're just siphoning milk to your breeding farm, you don't need much bigger than this. If you have to do the milk deliveries yourself, yeah, you're going to want something bigger. But it functions and it does a good job. So we'll give it a glass of milk. This little water trailer, it came off of the mod contest. It works. It's a mod trailer. It carries 800 water trailer. It carries 800 liters. It's lightweight. You can push it around as a person, which is great. I can kind of get a feel for actually being able to push it, which I would be able to do with a trailer like this. So, it works. It operates. I like it. Do I need one? That's questionable. I mean, you might. Okay, I apparently have given it quite a push, and it is now going to drive off on its own. Okay, well, whatever. There are bigger ones out there. If you need water, and you need large volumes of water, go elsewhere. Yeah, that's really what I got for you on that one. I'll give it a mention. I actually find that the other water trailer, one that comes with the giant old-time pack, is better. It is larger. Though this one doesn't have the bogeyed front end, which makes it easier to drive. The trunk is an awesome thing. I debated putting it in the grain hauling category, but then I realized, I can haul grain, but that's not really what it's... it doesn't haul nearly enough to do anything. What it's used for, at least in my farm, is feeding chickens. Because when you have the mod on that requires you to feed your chicken grain, this is perfect. It gives your chickens their feed. It's lightweight, can clip to any tractor you got, and yeah, there you go. It's a great little mod. I'm going to give it an award for chicken feeding. There you go, a chicken feeding award. That red thing that looks like a snowplow and this blue thing here are both silage devices. They're sort of like silage leveling, silage pushing devices. Let's be honest, I don't see a whole heck of a lot of need for these because you kind of silage level when you drive your tractor back and forth. But if you see a need for silage leveling, these work. They do the job that they're advertised to do. So, yeah, there you go. The red thing expands wider to make it bigger, which is great. You can also use it to transport from alt tip points, which is actually another mod that we discussed, and we'll talk about that for a second. But you can dump your chaff in an alt tip point and then use these to actually transport it. But I don't know why you'd need to do that, because I would just pick up the chaff and put it in a trailer. So take that for what you will. The other mod, and I just mentioned it, is not, you can't see it. You can see it if I go over here, however, is the alt tip mod. It allows you to tip your load of whatever somewhere else. Here's a load of 44,000 liters of canola that I dumped on here for reasons of I don't remember. Well, it was a plinth for the Lego tractor. And that's great. It allows you to create your own storage piles in various locations. Now, it does require you to have vehicles that front loaders or loader devices that can pick up that material to redeploy it into a trailer. But as long as you have that, the alt tip mod is an excellent addition to your farm. You don't have to use it all the time. It is a left control Q when you're driving your trailer, and it will dump that trailer's load. So there you go. What did I give it? Did I give it a mention? I'm going to give it a dishonorable mention because it annoys me. So, I mean, the more I look at that John Deere, the more it reminds me of how annoyed I was trying to get it to work. So dishonorable mention for the John Deere, a mention for the water trailer thing, a glass of milk for the milk trailer because it works, an award for chicken feeding for the trunk, and a mention for the 2 silage leveling devices. And I guess I'll call it an award for the alt tipping script because it actually does something great. It adds something to the game you could do in real life. All right, we'll be back with our next mod category. All right, we're back here with another award category. Now, some of you might be wondering, why are you doing it here? It's kind of a cramped place. Well, I tried to do this out in the fields, and I tried to buy all of the mods that I had done and set them up in this awesome little arrangement. It just crashed the game. There's some seriously detrimental mods. We'll talk about them later. So we're just going to do it here at the shop so I can buy and sell and cycle through. All right, so let us talk about cultivators. Now here, right here, this Vicon, this is our defending champion for 2 seasons now. This has been the cultivator to beat. It is lightweight. It is large enough to do most work. It can be towed by most tractors, and it compacts nicely for parking and transport. This season, we saw a whole host of 3-meter cultivators. There is this Vadestat. There is the green boy here, whatever it is, John Deere. I don't think it's really John Deere, but there you go, green. There's the Kokoling. There is a Potner. Those are all 3 meters. There's the Ford 6 meter, and then there's this Kavernland, which is a 6 point something or another meter. All right. So it's actually a pretty full category when you think about it. And we're going to start with it's kind of tough here. Each of the 3 meters, except for the green one, the actual 3-point hitched 3 meter cultivators. So that's the this one here, the blue one there, and then the partner at the end. Each of them have really nice extras in terms of dirt movement, dust movement, stuff like that. But the other thing that they have is weight, and they are heavy. I mean, they are heavy. Really, it came down to, for me to move these things around consistently, I end up coupling them to very large tractors, like the Class Xeron, the stuff like that. I mean, we're talking the big, heavy equipment. Now, with the exception of the Kirovets, which is a cheap, heavy tractor, once I'm to the level where I have the tractor that can haul a big, heavy piece of equipment, I'm not going to go with a 3 meter cultivator. The problem is I can't go and buy, if I go and buy right now the Bucher, and I'll even put a weight on this guy, presuming I know where that weight went. There it is. So even with the Bucher, which with the in-game cultivator, 3 meter or whatever, I don't have any problems running the Bucher. It works. It picks up exactly what I expect it to pick up, and it moves that cultivator. Now, I'm going to see if I can do this without destroying everything. Go. All right, so we got this weight on here. It's a pretty hefty weight. Look at how much load that took on the tractor. Now, as I accelerate, I've got that pretty heavy weight, but even then, you can see it took a heavy load on that tractor. And I think this is actually the lightest of the cultivators. So, I mean, you can do it, but I found that when it came down to it, I was really putting a load on a tractor for a 3 meter cultivator. And so I'm not really inclined to really love these cultivators for that reason, though I love the extras, the dust, the dirt, all of that. This one has the same sort of dust and dirt, but because it actually has wheels, it's not so bad on the tractors. Still, they're only 3 meters, and pricing on these 3 meters, here's the 3 meter in-game is 10.8. So the pricing on these modded cultivators, we got 3.5 for this 3.2 here. 13, 13, and 21. At that point, I'm going to buy the in-game because it's cheaper. I mean, honestly, at 3 meters, 3 meters is a starter cultivator. Let's be honest about it. So it's cheaper to buy the in-game. I'm going to give them all honorable mentions still because I love the dirt effects. And they're good cultivators. There's no complaints about the cultivators themselves. So there you go. Honorable mentions for all of the 3 meter and the 3.2 cultivator. That leaves the Ford 6 meter disc, the Kverneland, those two, fighting the Vicon here. Let's start with the Kverneland. The Kverneland is sort of another problem child for me. It's heavy. Because it's a full 3-pointer here, I got to take the whole load of this thing onto the tractor. That's another problem. I'm going to be, again, looking at a larger tractor or a heavier front weight to move this. And why? I mean, I can understand to some degree, but when you think about it, all the larger cultivators in-game are tow behind, much like the Ford and the Vicon. It makes it easier. It lets me use smaller tractors, and And the other problem, and this is a problem I discovered quite by accident, but the other problem is because of the height of the arms on this Kverneland. Some sheds, you hit the top of the shed with the Kverneland when you try to back it in there. And there's no way to lower it to get it out of the way. So it actually creates a situation where you have to be very careful about where you put it because, one, it's in many cases it's too wide to fit into the opening when you drop the arms. But when the arms are up, you can't actually back it into all of the sheds. That, to me, is a problem, though it is still a nice cultivator. I am going to give it an honorable mention because it does a good job. It is a useful cultivator. If you have a big tractor, why not? Throw this guy on there. It's also relatively inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. $42,000 for the Kverneland TLD91. So $42,000, you know, when you look at that against the in-game equipment, cultivators, you know, it's actually slotted. The 6 meter is 22, so the Joker is a 22. It's sort of a takeoff of the Joker there. So, cultivators. Of course, there's a quicker way to jump between them. But this has got a 9.1, so you're getting more working with, 42,000. So it's really, you know, it is the largest, but bigger is not always better. Honorable mention. Ford. The Ford 6 meter. I liked the Ford 6 meter because initially I looked at the price and I was like, wow, that price is just too low. How much, you say? $5,200. It's cheap. It's cheap. But then I looked at it and I was like, well, it's rusty. It's used. I'm not buying a brand new piece of equipment. Look at all the rusty joints and the dirt spot. Everything about it screams this is a used and abused piece of equipment, and I'm buying it for my farm. However, it is heavy. It is heavier than the Vicon there. It's like, you know, they used bridge girders and stuff to build this thing. So you need a good heft on your tractor to haul it. But when you get down to it, price. I mean, we're talking a 6 meter disc for $5,200. The Vicon is a 6.3 meter for $52,300. It's a pretty big difference there. And it works. There are incidences where buying or resetting the Ford will actually have it spawn in or flip over upside down. That is a problem, but I have only encountered it once in many instances of using it, both here in Longcastle. I also have other farms that I toy around with, and I've encountered it once amongst all of the uses, and I have used it pretty much, well, used it more than I've used the Vicon. So I feel pretty good. You might encounter once in a while it flips over, but if it does, just give it a reset and it flips itself back over correctly again. Does it beat the Vicon? And you would think, you know, I talked up the pricing and all that, and you would think in that case, plus the fact that I just admitted I use it more on my farms than I use the Vicon, you would think I would say, oh yeah, the Ford totally beats the Vicon. I don't think it does. And the reason is the Ford is a big, wide piece of equipment. It is a big, used piece of equipment. It is good, cheap, wide body cultivator. And I like it for that. But when you get down to it, if I have to maneuver, if I need to get somewhere, I'm going to take the Vicon. It's narrow. Yeah, it's longer, but it's narrow. So it's going to fit into every shed in the world. This one, you do have to be careful in some instances trying to get into sheds. It unfolds. The Vicon unfolds really nice. It just looks really good. So I'm going to give the Ford an award, and it is going to be the co-winner with the Vicon. So the Vicon is going to keep its crown. It's just now going to share its crown with the Ford 6 meter cultivator. So there you go. Award for the Ford. It now shares it with the Vicon, which has been our award winner since season 1. The GD 3.2 is an honorable mention. It is 3.2 meters. It is inexpensive. The Kavernland 9 meters. It is a honorable mention as well. It does a good job. It's just when you come down to it, you need a pretty hefty piece of equipment to take this thing onto your 3-point. The Potner, the Cochliner, and the Vadestat. Each are 3 meters. They are heavy, but I'm going to give them honorable mentions. I like their dirt and dust effects. So there you go. A bunch of honorable mentions and a new co-award winner. The Ford 6-meter Cultivator now shares with the Vicon Cultivator. We'll be back in our next category.